Okay, hello everyone.
Right.
Hello.
So happy to see you here. And yes, I'm also happy to welcome whoever is listening to us or watching us now or later. And of course, we are here today to raise some maybe big questions, probably questions actually we can't really answer. But I guess what is most important, and I think during these strange times, what has happened, what a lot of festivals, not just photography, have asked, what to do, how to survive, cancel or postpone, or change something, change the platform, change the content. And I think it's interesting that we all are here who are actually doing something. So we haven't really canceled, we haven't really moved, after 2 years, but some of us has done it already. Some of us are still doing, and some of us will just be doing very soon. And I think also this kind of event is something what most festivals have actually lost during the pandemic is networking. Especially international networking. And I guess what we can do today, first of all, is of course share our experience. And yes, basically, I will probably talk about a little bit about the schedule, what we will do today. Uh, I would like that we all, of course, a little bit tell about our plans. Some of us who have already done just a little bit, sharing experience, and of course also trying to maybe talk about most crucial subjects that we actually are challenging, because of course probably we have different challenges, but a lot of festivals share kind of similar structures, and or of course we can also say everybody, we always have crisis, and it's just not because of virus, it's either governmental policies, or is it money and funding, or some are organizational issues. But of course, first of all, what we would like to talk now, how especially the coronavirus has affected, the way we work, the way we plan something, the way we execute something. And yes, I would like to introduce, guests, of this evening, Kateryna Radchenko. Yeah, she's doing Odesa Photo Days in Ukraine. Now you're probably in Kiev.
No, now in Odessa.
Ah, nice. Then we have Joanna Gorlach, who is doing Krakow Photomonth. And then we have Maciej Bujko, who is doing a TIFF festival in Wroclaw. And then we have Jenny Nordquist from Landskrona festival in Sweden. So yes, and somehow, I don't know the way you see the speaker view, but it is interesting that the way it has arranged that Kateryna is first, I'm the second, and then we see Joanna, and it's pretty much probably the way our festivals are running, when it in terms of schedule, So I think Kateryna already has had her festival, Riga Photomonth, in framework, we are doing this talk is now running, and we had just started, and we will be running for the next few weeks. And then of course Krakow Photomonth is coming up also quite soon, I think. So what I would like to ask first is maybe to share a bit of experience. Maybe Kateryna could talk about Odesa Photo Days, because she did a festival in a really strange times when we now, if at least in Riga, if we look on the streets, seems like nothing. It's like a year ago, nothing has changed. People back in the streets, in the cafes, and we see people in bars and also small events. But of course, there are many things that are still affected. But Kateryna did it, while it was still, everybody was at home, and everybody was just, in front of their, laptop and ordering food from Bolt and stuff like that. So maybe Kateryna, yes, you could share a bit. How was it for you?
Yeah, sure. Like, first of all, thanks for this invitation. It's like, it's interesting to be on the another part of the screen and not to be organized the festival. So briefly about our festival, like we have to start probably from the beginning, that like by the beginning of the March, the program was complete and everything was ready. And just from the beginning of March and next 2 weeks, different countries starts and began to close the borders and actually like to impose the quarantine. And but still, like we had the hope that like we can provide a festival for the local community. So for us, it was already clear that like we will not have the international guests. So we thought about that, like maybe we can like move our events, but first of all, not exhibitions. Like we thought more about the lectures and presentations to move them to the online space and like to the Skype or like different kind of online conferences. But still, like till the last moment, we hope that like we can provide the festival for the local community, as like everything was absolutely ready and absolutely complete. But then like in the middle of March, of course, this was clear that like Ukraine also began the quarantine. So we had only about 3 weeks to change the program and completely to change the format. And also like we didn't want to cancel it, as it's quite easy from one side, but also like it was already like so much things arranged that like we wanted like to try to move it online. And from the old program, actually we left only 3 lectures, and all of them was changed, like the topic was changed as we changed completely to the situation, and we wanted to talk about again about the future and about the current situation. And then we left the photo screenings and we left the open mic. So like it was like only 4 days of different online events. I can tell you and sharing that like probably for us the biggest challenge was it's controlling the internet, as like it's like something what is like just not possible to control at all. Like we hope and we think that like it's something so so normal to have the good internet connection, but in fact it doesn't work as good as we want, and sometimes it's just no electricity just in the middle of our stream. So it was different, completely different understanding that you just can't do nothing. You just have to follow the situation, and that's all. Because like in the physical life, you see what is still possible, how to manage. But in this situation with the internet or some technical problems, you're just following, and that's all. And also like about the like we had this minuses and pluses. So for the pluses, for sure, this is the audience coverage, as like we had the audience from all over the world, which is like never happened with the festival before, like in the physical, like in the real life, just because of the distance and because of the no possibility to arrive to Ukraine. And also like each event visited like more than 1,000 people. So like it's also like quite good number, as in Odessa also like all our spaces limited for the audience, like so like we always limited how much we can host. But also like about the minuses, which is also for me it was absolutely clear, like the last day of the festival, it was Sunday, and on Monday when I wake up, like I had completely like feelings that we didn't have the festival, like it just didn't exist, because like the memory, this like emotional memory is much more shorter when you're online, and when you're like really like involved physically to the any events, and like you physically have this memory of the people whom you met, of the talks, of different details. So like it's really strange, like now like only like maybe some Facebook news remind me that like we had the festival this year, but like it's completely different feelings. And also like for the minuses, I could say that yeah, it's like this short emotional memory, but also it's quite important, like this I know, like this networking which you mentioned, this it's like it's completely different. We didn't had enough feedback from our audience. Like we tried to push them for the answering on our questions. We tried like to have Zoom party, but still it's like you didn't have this touch with the audience and you don't have clear understanding how actually festival works or didn't work at all. So this is like my brief story from our side.
Okay, thank you. Okay, maybe I tell a few words about how are we doing now. So yes, I think what we had in plan this year, and why I kind of want to say that, you know, actually the virus saved the festival, is that we were planning a quite low budget festival. You know, that's of course another story. But and at the verge of almost canceling this because of not having enough money, we thought, okay, you know, maybe actually let's do it, and let's because then again, what I find, of course, also interesting, that this is some kind of challenge for me as well, because, you know, I've been doing this already for quite a few years, and you know, the kind of the structure, you know, the organization of works, you know, it's a bit of kind of deja vu every year. So this year, of course, it was completely something different, and in a way, I could say I enjoyed it. And because of the low budget, we didn't have too many things planned. And I think this is also the case when you have a lot of things planned. Then it, you know, very short moment of time, it's really difficult to you know, to change, to just do something else, or to move everything online. So I think this is why what we decided, we basically canceled the main show, but with the artists that were invited, I asked them, okay, let's do something else. At the beginning, we thought everything will be online and that there will be just performances. But once the restrictions softened, where they thought, okay, let's do something also on site. So now we have also, like, coming tomorrow, for instance, also events in the streets, also in the bars, and we will also have in some exhibition venues and stuff like that. So basically, I could say that the program was kind of flowing program. You know, we don't have any catalogs, no programs. You know, the program keeps changing, and I keep adding some events, or sometimes some events change the dates. So of course, the good question: if you have a lot of things planned and if you have a lot of money involved, and you know what to do then, you know, because then it would mean, you know, canceling, let's say, large shows where you have, you know, works have been planned to ship and stuff like that. So I guess being a low budget was, I guess, my answer why it was actually easy to be flexible, and why you know, it was easy to just, you know, within a month basically just to make up a new program. So yes, and now it's going on. So and this is one part of events as well. So, and but what is coming up quite soon, I guess, is Krakow Photomonth, and from what I've seen, your plans are quite ambitious. Yeah, maybe you could talk about how do you?
Yeah, so we were also caught in a situation 2 months ago. It was mid-March, like 2 months before planned opening, in a situation that, okay, we had to stop because we don't know what's going to happen. And of course, we all face this decision-making problem that each day you are informed, okay, you can do this, or there are new restrictions. So it was also hard for us to plan it, especially that also some works were already produced for the shows. And we also learned that our grant was cut like quite heavily. So the budget is lower than we planned. So of course it makes you rethink everything. But we realized that what is most important for us are people, the team, the curators, the artists that were already involved, that they worked on the program for so many months. For some people, it was almost a year. And we have to preserve it somehow, you know, that we have to do it. We have to make sure that they're going to be paid for their work. And even if it's a lower budget, still they must get it, and that we want to bring the program to people, to the public somehow, you know, so that we want to say, yes, we are, we exist, we survived, and we're gonna work. Of course, it's very hard because you make a lot of effort. I have a feeling that we all work twice or three times more than before, you know, that being in front of the screen doesn't make it easier in a way, you know, you're just at work, like from the moment you open your eyes until you close it and late at night. But anyway, what was important for us was to keep the date. It was 21st of May. And even though till the almost like last days, we didn't know, like already we know that now in June, you can meet, you know, we can meet on the street and it's fantastic, but we didn't know it like 2 weeks ago. So anyway, we started with the online program and we didn't change it. I mean, I think what's important, and we are very happy about it, that the program that we planned was, we didn't need to change it, you know, to talk about pandemic. We didn't want to do it. Because we thought, okay, we want to talk about things that are connected with photography and how photography affects our world and how we can communicate through images. And we also wanted to talk about things that are related to photography or shown by photography. So, so all the events that were supposed to happen in the opening weekend, like panels, meetings, lectures, we moved them online because we said, okay, we don't know when we will be able to meet with the others, if it's going to be safe. Of course, because of lower budget, we cannot bring everybody to Krakow. And I'm not even talking about people from abroad. I'm talking even around Poland. You know, you have to travel, you have to pay for the hotel. It's a lot of money still. So we moved to the internet. And started with this, and now by the end of June, we're planning to open 6 shows, smaller shows. We had to cancel 2 big ones that had like more demanding logistics, international artists, and those we decided to do in a different format, like a performance of the artist, and to make a small publication afterwards. So in a way, our program didn't change. It just spread in time, and probably will finish by the end of summer or maybe even September. And to be honest, I don't know if our decisions were right. Each day is like a new challenge. And I think we'll evaluate it in a few months from now, and then see how it affects the future, you know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So maybe Maciej, could you talk about TIFF festival and your plans? I know you were also thinking, should you cancel, should you move?
Well, actually, we are in quite good situation. I mean, our festival takes place always in September. So when we first heard about pandemic, of course, we had the thought, okay, what we are going to do now. But then there was such, you know, disinformation around, especially from our government side. So we decided, okay, we just wait, stay calm. And now, when we are in the end of the lockdown in Poland, we know that how we can do the festival and how we can do our events. So I think that, okay, we have the plan B, we have the plan C for every kind of opportunity for the, you know, second wave, etc., etc. But for now, we are planning to do the normal festival actually. Of course, the thing that changed is the digital revolution in culture. I mean, I cannot imagine right now to do the discussion without the online transmission, because I think the audience used to this kind of form, and they much more likely stay home for the discussion than participate in a live discussion, because it's easier, it's more comfortable. So definitely we're gonna do the online discussion in a hybrid form. So there would be the audience, of course, but also there would be a camera, the microphone. So it will be we will do the transmission as well, and maybe somehow invite the audience to ask the questions throughout the internet. So this is how in positive way it affects us. But also, of course, we have this kind of plan C that we still need to reglement the number of the audience, for example. So we are going to do the small events, the small debates for, I don't know, 10 people only on live. Or also there is the most fatal situation that we will have the next lockdown, and then, yeah, sure, the whole associated program will take place online, and we will try to do the exhibitions, for example, in the end of the year, or I don't know, maybe online. But I believe that we are in a good position in a way of being in September, which is in the early September, especially. That is the best time regarding to the coronavirus. But for instance, in the other project that we do, as a TIFF, as an organization, we moved online. So we did much the same as you do. And I think that is good. I think that is, I'm not totally afraid about this year. My concern is about the next year, but probably we'll talk about it later.
Okay, thank you. And Jenny, what are the plans for Landskrona? How virus has affected your planning?
Yes, I mean, we are as well in September. So it's the date, it's the 4th until the 20th. So in that way, of course, we have time to prepare. And already in April, we kind of had to take a decision of what we should do. And of course, Sweden dealt with the situation differently than many other countries in Europe as well. I live in Denmark, so I experienced the lockdown where I live, but in Sweden, never locked down in the same amount. So some of the institutions that we have in Landskrona, they kept open as well, the museum and the art hall. And then in April, we decided we will make the festival with the restrictions that we have at the time in April, because we assumed they will be the same maybe in September. And that kind of made us take the decision that we will go ahead with the festival. We will make all the exhibitions like planned. I think also because we have many outdoor exhibitions, that's kind of been an aim for the festival for many years back, that maybe 50% of the shows are actually done in the public space and outdoor. And we thought that should be fine in any consideration, and maybe a really positive thing as well for people to be able to experience the exhibitions outdoor. And then we also went ahead and continued planning with the exhibitions indoors, because we had our own institutions and they were open, and they're still open right now. And they kind of have a system, because we have rules of, we can't gather more than 50 people, and there has to be like a distance of 2 meters. So even though they're open, there is like a routine for exhibitors, and people are kind of getting used to still being able to go and see exhibitions, but keeping it safe environment as well. So with those in mind, we continue with our exhibition program. But what we had to do, and it was in April, I was just kind of about to write all the contracts with the artists, and we have about planned to have 25 international artists flying in as normal, doing artist talk and all these things that we love. Everybody's meeting. And then we decided that could be something that we could not do. So then we have to say, okay, we're not inviting anybody from overseas, no guests to the festival. And in that process, we were then allowed to say, okay, then we will expect or plan and give an opportunity online for all participating photographers instead. And so, of course, we have time to plan and to prepare and change things as well. And so there will, of course, then be an online program in addition to the exhibitions. And that's something we are working on right now to find a good solutions to that. And we're learning from everybody else. It's so great to share experience with other festivals, because we have time then to practice on various things like we are doing now in a way. What was also one thing that we also, like, we couldn't do any events, no meetings, no conferences, all these things that are additional to the exhibitions. And I think what happens as well, because I think in September there will still be a border issue, and a worry as well as Sweden might be a country that it will be difficult to travel to or get back from with restrictions and things like that. So I think it shifts now. The festival is shifting towards becoming more for a regional audience instead of much of an international audience, especially with exhibitions. But then you're thinking like then you need to kind of supply something for the professional audience as well. So for example, our portfolio review, we are kind of announced a collaboration with an online portfolio review platform. So we're starting to work on that now. And we're quite excited. I mean, of course, it's a shame we're not meeting and not inviting as many people as we normally do. But then you have to see this is another opportunity for us to explore a way of doing portfolio review, for example, online. And I think in the future, that's something that we will kind of continue. And I think the future maybe holds a combination of physical events, physical exhibition, but also an additional digital program. So I think it's like, I try to see it positively as well. It's like, okay, we want to have the international audience, but maybe we could be more known with a regional audience, because it's like you have to move your marketing, you move your direction as well. So there might not be a point in marketing the actual visiting the exhibitions for more than the regional audience, but then maybe more people that are local or regional will come and find out about the festival, and then we gain a new audience there as well. And so trying to turn around and see in a positive note what we can learn. Of course, there is the blessing of us being in September, so we have more time to prepare and to try out new experiences and find solutions.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the good time to start some more discussion and to raise certain topics that I guess we are already talking about. And also want to say, whoever is watching us, you can ask questions. If you are on Zoom, you can wave your hand and I can connect you, so you will be able to ask. Or if you are a bit shy, you can ask your question in chat. We have a chat. And on Facebook, I also, you can try to write it down, your question on Facebook, and we will try to answer it there as well. And yeah, I think one of the topics that we have, raised was kind of flexibility, how to achieve that, because I guess it's, of course, we have this uncertainty of future, we talk about maybe second wave of virus, maybe how will that come? Either it's autumn or is it like a new year? And, there is a big chance that restrictions also come and go. And of course, Sweden also, being a little bit of exemption could turn the way around that actually now nobody goes to Sweden, so it's kind of like also tricky. And yeah, I don't know, does anyone has an answer how to achieve that flexibility? Is it how to plan a festival that you can like easily be it an exhibition in a museum, a gallery, a space, or or be online? Is it something that you can plan in advance, or now you have to leave a lot of space for kind of adaptation at the last moment? So does anyone has an answer for that?
No, I'm thinking how to already work on the next edition, because normally we would already started, we should be closing this one and thinking of 2020. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen. I think for us, I think it's good actually that we realize that we can be really flexible, when we have to. And of course, I'm not a big fan of putting the whole life into internet, because we need to meet, we need to see each other and feel each other. But for us, for example, now we can do program that we were thinking, how to do it when we don't have enough money to bring everybody here at a certain time. And now we can talk with the people all around the world, with the specialists, from visual aspects and what is interesting for us. And I think it's great, actually, so when you give yourself a space to react anytime something unexpected happens, then like new ways open up. And what Jenny said about, for example, portfolio review, we decided to cooperate with Łódź Photo Festival, which is wonderful that we can do it together. We're gonna do it online. We're not gonna use airplanes to bring people, which is bad for the environment. And then we can have a reviewer from China, for example, and that's great. Again, of course, I would love to see you all in Krakow now, or meet you in Landskrona, of course, in September, but well, this is how it is. And yeah, and we have to, I guess, get used to this.
I think really the environmental aspect is there, and I think this year we can try and we can kind of say, okay, we're not inviting any international artist. If we did that as if it wasn't Corona, we did it as a pure environmental case, we would maybe be critiqued and it would maybe seem quite extreme in a way. And now in a way we are not really allowed to invite people, and we are gaining some environmental aspects. And I think, like Joanna was saying as well, I think this is a good way of rethinking, for example, the portfolio view, inviting all these curators from quite far away. And maybe the future is a combination where maybe fewer people are traveling, but there's also an online platform. A lot of people can connect and participate as well.
And also the aspect of, oh, sorry, Kateryna.
Start.
Okay. But no, I just want to mention that the aspect of cooperation that Joanna brings, this is the chance for us. But now we can much more easier cooperate with each other to combine the events and make it cheaper, for example, or more affordable for our audience. And also it's a chance for our promotion and for our exhibitions to have a much more broader audience, so we can cross over. So there's a whole sea of new possibilities that I don't know why, but somehow we didn't see it before. So this is exciting, I think.
Yeah, I'm completely agree that like it's this situation actually like brings to us like completely like different view how it could be, and also like I think most of us like clear see these possibilities like to have the parallel program as a physical events, but also events online. But also what I would like to add, like of course like it's not clear what the future will be, but and like how it will be with the second, third wave, or like with virus in general. But like I would like to have the parallel with the conflict or war, for example, as people in general, they couldn't stay in the stressed for the long time. It's just like physically not possible. So like if you're like in distress, or like it could 2 years in the bomb shelter, as it's anyway it's possible only for the short time. But then you will accept the situation. You will like take as adaptation for the new situation, and still you're looking for the possibilities like to survive in this new situation. And actually, it's what I'm also like observe first of all in Ukraine, that like people are here like really tired of the self-isolation. And they completely changed the priorities. And right now, they're like for them, it's much more easy to risk and to be on the street and to gathering, and like to spend more time like in the social life, like that, to stay long at home. Of course, like it's different. It's like, but like it's also quite clear that like even if it will be like second or third waves, that will be like different priorities probably, and different priorities by the like how the people will adapt the situation as like new situation, new life.
I think that this is the time for smaller festivals as well. I think if you look at the film festivals or music festivals, all big festivals cancelled, because you can be really that flexible if you are planning really big things. So I think it is much easier if you don't plan like 30 exhibitions in a galleries and museums, like in art, for instance, and to be flexible with that, I think it's quite hard. So we have one question I see on Facebook now from Malcolm Dixon, who is from Glasgow. He writes, it has to remain flexible, of course, whilst we are denied the social encounter of seeing and meeting in person. The online environment allows wider communication. It is a forced circumstance. Have the speakers noticed more cross-fertilization of audiences? Well, that's the question. Yeah. So I guess it's also what's probably interesting because, we are kind of, more or less, doing things online, or we plan to do online. So hasn't that also, do we have the same audiences? Maybe not. I don't know. At least from my, what I see now in the coming days or weeks, I don't think that there will be that much, audience from the other countries. But I guess this is also the question of how do you build the audience? Because, before you would have an audience, you use the marketing, there's a lot of local audience, then there are some guests who come abroad, but now you have to reach people online. And, if you don't have a Facebook page with many followers, how would you access those people, for instance? So it's again also that you need to invest in actually building audience online, or bringing it online, or creating some kind of platform. So on those platforms are still, even if it's Facebook, still, it's not that we share always the same people. So what do you think?
I can share our experience. That for us it was quite important to win the competition with other online events, as it's clear that in April it was so many free and amazing events available, and it was a huge competition, how to found and how really to stop the audience with us. So what we did, of course, we wanted to use to the situation and to bring new audience from the different countries who never been in Ukraine and who never had the possibility to visit our festival. And we contacted actually our partners and different photo festivals, and and ask them to spread the information about our events. And and actually we tried to share our events with different international photo festivals, and it works in this case that we got the audience from Asia, and we got audience from Latin America, and also we also had the participants from Argentina. So it actually works pretty well according to the bring new audience from the different countries. But it was absolutely clear that our audience still there was who is interested in photography, so professional community. We didn't manage to bring audience even from Ukraine who is not from the professional community. We catch their attention maximum for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but they didn't stay with us for the whole festival or for the whole event.
Yeah, I think it's also the issue of the one-channel communication. But right now we are forced to use only Facebook to communicate with our audience. But in this way, we have a gap because we cannot get in touch with elder people, for example. They not use the social media as much as we do, or the people from the rural areas. So this is the question also for the future. How do we deal with this part of our local audience? Because I cannot imagine that we will still do it only in the online form. Somehow, if we will have this situation again, we need to find out how to get in touch with the other parts of our audience.
I think we are going to try and do some different things during the festival for our online program. We thought about as well, because for the local audience to try and access some of the online material that might not follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and to maybe have some, like while they are looking at the outdoor exhibitions, for example, to have some QR codes or somewhere for them to be able to access, and from that way find out about our online program, to actually promote online programming in a kind of physical manner, in a physical space. Just kind of something we might try out during the actual festival to get to another audience.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's true. It's super hard because I still have a feeling that we're touching the professional audience, or those that are interested anyway in like whatever we do. What we also, I think it's important to mention about online events, because it has to be attractive for people. I mean, if you have so much in the internet, you know, from everybody, we're talking how much overproduction you can bear, you know, and how much you can watch. And listen to. So we invested a little bit in like good production of those events, you know, so that they're bearable for the people and they actually want to stay with us, not to make them too long. I think it's important, like from technical point of view, and also on some marketing, so that like for example on YouTube, you know, so, and here we see a chance that maybe somebody who is some completely different kind of world, you know, will get interested in it, and also in the topics that we offer people, you know, that sometimes it's a talk with psychologist or a writer. It's still in connected with photography, but something that can just open us to a new public. But of course, I mean, it's limited to anyone who just sits in front of the screen, and it's hard to overcome now.
Yeah, we have a.
And also maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say that, kind of make a little excuse that, for example, many of our events are in Polish, you know, because they're with Polish artists or specialists here. So for now, and we didn't have money to invest in like translations. So, but in this case, we hope that maybe like this local community or generally in Poland will just get more audience because of that, you know, also sharing with our partners here the events. So, well, we'll see.
So regarding the experience of audience, we have a question from Vasilis Triantis. How do you think the online version will change the experience of the audience and also the perception of festivals from audiences?
I don't know if we can already say it because in the middle of the process, and I think that the experience of being in a real physical space is something that we can talk about virtual reality, but that's another topic, and I don't want to raise it up here because it could be another long discussion. I don't know. I think that it's. I think that we're in a way closer to each other, you know, and that's the experience that everything is accessible because you can easily reach everybody now, you know. But on the other hand, is I don't know. I think it's limited, and it will need to get hybrid. I think Jenny said something like this, that it will be both, you know, that the festival is about being in a space. And it's not virtual, I think.
No, I think that's the thing, that the festivals are not just about the good exhibitions, you know, it's something else, you know, it's about networking, you know, providing platform, you know, meeting, engaging with people, with the audience, with artists, and at the end of the day, also having fun together, right? Having drinks and chats somewhere late in the night, you know, how to substitute that, you know, I don't think Zoom breakout rooms can substitute that, you know, maybe a little bit, of course, but you know, you're kind of, you know, drinking alone, right? So it's a bit different, all right? So, and yes, I think that what will you know, what we can learn from these times by doing is that I think there are certain forms that probably are quite good for online. We can do it online, and because of that, we can also maybe access people that otherwise we couldn't, because they can travel, because they are very busy, but they can go online, for an hour or two and be, involved in certain events. And of course, we are saving our budget on the travel costs, and also saving the planet from need to travel. But of course, yes, I believe the question still remains, how to substitute and how to, what to do, with those core elements of festival that are also networking, and also the presence. Like I was, for instance, thought that maybe we will start our festival when there were those hardcore restrictions, when there would be, like 2 people could meet only, because we had that restriction that 2 people can meet. I was considering this kind of Marina Abramovic style, interactions, that, there would be a performance, one artist and one person, but of course it makes quite exclusive. So in a way it's interesting. It's something probably, would be fun to do, but it's also exclusive because it's available for, maybe just one person. And of course you can do online. And yes, but, in the long term, I believe we all, we are humans. We miss some real interactions as well. And also when it comes to festival.
Yeah, I see as well. It's like, because this is sometimes I feel that sometimes the beauty of Landskrona festival in this way, it's such a small town. So when we fill this little town, there's only 40,000 people living there, and this the greater Landskrona. So when we normally festival, it's filled with all photographers are coming, curators, directors, and people are so easily bumping into each other. If you're a photographer, you're dancing next to someone you've been looking up towards another photographer, and it's this meeting place that it's like, how do you replace that? And I think that is what we this year are going to really miss. And then we can evaluate, it's like, okay, how do we kind of become that in the future again? How can we create that and still be online and have a mix and still be sustainable, and all these elements that we have to think about in the future. So it's a challenge.
I'm just hoping that this is temporary, and this experience will keep only for this year. And like for the next year, we'll be back for our normal format of the festivals, maybe involving this a little bit of online format, which like will bring most like easiness to bring someone, but still like I really hope that like it's temporarily experience.
Yeah, maybe regard to the coronavirus, but I think the future is not bright, and we will need to consider the other problems. Like, I don't know, for instance, this year at the Arnis, when they were still planning the festival, they decided to move the temple, this part which is focused on the photo books, from the classical area to the inside of a new building with the air conditioning, because it was too hot outside to conduct this event. So even the global warming somehow affected us and will affect us in the future. So I think that this experience is very good training for the future, and how we react to the problems, and how flexible are we. But also there is one other aspect, because I believe that we are very flexible. We are NGOs and we are not huge organizations, most of us, but we cooperate with the founders, with the governments, and it's also up to them how they cooperate with us and how they allows us to be flexible. And that's going to be a problem next year. We already speak with the local government, and they letting us know that okay, this year we're gonna keep the funding the same way as it was, but next year we're gonna have a crisis. So let's think about it, how we proceed with the festivals next year. And it's also a question for us, what we are going to do with our programs to make it cheaper, for example. I don't know. We are still planning and thinking about the next year. Have you have any thoughts about the next year? And Asha already mentioned that they should start to thinking about it right now, but they're busy because of the festival. Do you have any thoughts about this?
I think the culture might be affected next year. I mean, especially all those events that are funded by the state or city, because the state and city will have less money because, you know, there was less money around this year. You know, people didn't spend that much and didn't earn that much. So there are not enough taxes and not enough funding. So they will need to make cuts. You know, at least in my country, culture usually is the first to suffer. So
I think it's the same here, and like already someone told that the culture was first cut and will be released the last. And the Krakow is a city of festivals. It's not only us, of course, but a few film festivals, music festivals. It's like really a lot of parties in it. And we're having meetings with the local government every 2 or 3 weeks. And together we prepared a letter to our prime minister and the minister of culture to actually talk about it, how to protect us and the whole, festivals, it's also economy, you know, it's connected with tourism, but also it's jobs for so many people. In Krakow, it's like a few thousand people living out of festivals. So it's also a question of like what you, Maciej, mentioned, that it's the politics, you know, but we also have to, we're always complaining that there's not a lot of money, that the financing is hard because we know about our grants like 2 months before event, you know, and it's super hard to do something good, you know, in feeling secure and secure the people that work for us. It's like, it's terrible, you know. And now it's a moment for us to maybe try to fight for it. Of course, we know there's already a crisis. We already have less money. Yeah, everyone, everywhere. So it's somehow that we have to be just stronger now and fight for our rights, like I would say, even, you know. But also we don't know. The culture is like, it's necessary, but yeah, it's not the first thing to protect, I guess.
In our case, like in Ukraine, is completely different situation. As like our festival was appear the first year of the war, and we got the support from the government only once during the 6 years. So like we are not really like. We are not depending on the support of the government at all. We are more depending of, in general, economical crisis in Ukraine and the currency rate. As also with like hryvnia is not stable, but also we are quite dependent on this censorship. And also we depend, as like in Odesa, for example, like during this year, half of the art institutions was cancelled. And right now we have super limited numbers of the spaces which we can use. And it's also the question how many will stay for the next year. Like right now we have only 1 gallery open. And for the city, which is like 1 million people, it's ridiculous result. Like it's just couldn't be like this. But also like what is give freedom for our festival, that like for us it's clear that like it's more about the team. So like we are quite independent in some cases, as just like if the team will have the energy and wish to continue, then the festival will exist, and it's only about this.
Yes, on that note, we are of course a little bit different as well, since we are run by the city council in Landskrona. So okay, of course that gives us a certain security in staff and funding, and we have some regional support as well. But of course there's also this what we had to do this year is like we have a certain, of course we sell tickets to the festival, so you have a certain rely on an income. In these times you cannot rely on an income because maybe there will be other restrictions, so you have to cancel more than you assumed. So I think like and I think it's pushing maybe more the politics might push more towards that you should work more with commercial sponsors and you should kind of make more money from the festival with ticket sales and this type of more commercialization. So even though we are kind of part of the city council and have this nice security, which I'm very happy about, there's also, of course, insecurities always for the future and politics that are changing. So for us as well.
So what do you think what will be the events that can definitely be online? What do you have a feeling which actually, this is good, for online, something which hasn't been that much online? Are there any positive sides to this? Something which you would say, even if everything goes back to normal, this could stay online.
I think any events could be online and
Talks like this.
and all of them could be offline. It's only what is really good, maybe positive, that for the audience, it's much more easy to ask questions online. And it's they have much more freedom to write whatever and to really in our case, which what we had from our situation.
Also, the accessibility to the discussion is much more bigger. I think the discussions are things that should stay online. Okay, of course, it could be it could be offline as well, but it should be online. It's so useful, and it gives access to the information for the people that couldn't come, never. I think so. I think it's important to keep it this way.
It's also archiving the ideas that we do have. That's amazing, that we will have, after this festival, we will have archive of everything that was said, and we can make use of it in the future. Actually, we're planning to work on kind of summary in 2 years when the festival will turn 20 years old, which is quite a thing. And yeah, so I think that this will keep online for sure. Yeah,
I think so too, because we are doing all our exhibitions as planned. So I've always been saying to my team, is we don't have to do everything online because we still have the exhibition, so we don't have the time to produce everything online, but we will do some selections. So we will see what are the best kind of events or things to bring online. And I think this year we will just experiment and try, and then in the future we will learn. But I think as well, this online element, I think it's going to stay with us and be more kind of maybe selected in a way.
And do you see some kind of new forms appearing, some new either platform or technologies that actually we are still just at the very beginning, and that we're going to use more and more? Or maybe just the way we work, for instance, kind of collaborations, we can co-produce things, we can share on the platforms, accessing various audiences that we have on internet. So what do you think about that?
I think it's definitely really nice, the possibility of sharing when it's online events, even when it's lectures, or to give access to the different online lectures and to spread it through the colleagues in different countries. It's really good access to the education and to this information from one side. And also we hosted the lecture of Tracy Marshall during our festival, and she mentioned that it's really good time for the sharing the physical exhibitions, which I'm also agree about this, as it's some kind, it's good way to saving the materials, but also saving money, as the exhibitions which could travel from the one festival to another, from one country to another, as I don't know, for example, how it's going in your case, but in our case, each year we are producing a lot of materials as a frames and different works, and it exists only during one exhibition during the festival. And it's also the case, which is also nice to send it somewhere, to share it with other audience, to show it to the other people, and in this case to save maybe resources.
I believe one thing which will bring these kind of strange times will be also not so much looking at photography, but talking about it. I think all those kind of events of engagement about like talks, discussions, feedbacking, maybe meeting online. So we won't be probably seeing too much photography because, you know, maybe we have less exhibitions, you know, in general, but we have more events or kind of, yeah, either it's performance or action or whatever else, or a talk, because this can be, you know, organized easily. It doesn't, sometimes it costs almost nothing. And it can be flexible, you know, it can be arranged, it can be cancelled, it can be postponed. Well, it's harder with exhibitions, you know, especially if you want to bring, you know, like international artists from somewhere around to another country. And secondly, I think maybe somehow it will a bit more involve local, you know, photographers in festivals, because I think very often the program of a festival consists of a quite high volume of foreign photographers, because of course we want to bring and show something to the people here. We want to bring some foreign guests, and since that is always now a big question, so maybe, you know, kind of local, it becomes more a platform for also for local scene, and which maybe was not that much used before, at least in this year in Latvia. Riga Photomonth, I think, yeah, 90% are local people, and some of them are super young, and it's just, you know, kind of let's do it. And if you look at the past editions, it's the other way around. We have just a few local guys showing their work. So I think this is also one of the consequences. So it's kind of, on one hand, it becomes a bit more local, all those events, you know, even though we have the internet and we are, in a way, able to access a broad audience anywhere. So it's a little bit kind of paradox, I think, as well. So it's both things at the same time. What do you think?
I think it's funny because we realized one moment, and we didn't plan it. It just happened like that. That's true that most of our artists and exhibitions are of Poles or Polish, and even for the show-off section, it's a section for emerging artists. This year it was always 8 people, and this year it's only one person from abroad, and we chose them like last year already, so it was kind of prophetic, you know, that and they all can come one moment to Krakow, which is super nice. But I wanted to just say one thing about maybe future, because I'm really curious how the situation will actually affect artists and the way they work and the media they use. And I'm thinking about it in relation to, for example, project that we showed in the past in the festival. And let's say 2 years ago, we had edition with Iris Seeking, and she was showing artists like Anais Lopez, for example, with her like project made as an application for the internet, and the whole docking station in Amsterdam run by Marga Rotefel and Anais Lopez too. And at the time I was thinking how if it's the future of photography projects or a video project or visual in general. And I wanted to raise this topic here. If we as festivals and organizers of events and also institutions that help artists to develop their artistic actions, like if it's the future, if it's going to happen, or maybe the other way around. Now everyone will like to turn into, I don't know, analog. You will need to have a print, you know, made in a dark room. And I think that's interesting, you know, how, because that's also the future of our festivals, how we'll manage with this, because artists will tell us what they want to show and how also, you know, so.
I think it will be interesting as well to give more, see this as an opportunity to give more of a platform for works that are done for already online platforms, and to kind of, I think we're going to try and have one of the projects that we couldn't do during the festival. they are a group of artists that now are kind of, they're still going to be part of the festival, but they will kind of develop an online-based print at home exhibition that's starting to become a collaboration, I think, with Landskrona now, that maybe we will do something physical for 22, but it's like we still want to start it as an online project in a way. So I think it's like, I think it's interesting to explore more of these possibilities and work more with artists that are already kind of doing works for online.
Well, that kind of brings us to the question, maybe, how do you see your festival? You know, not this one, but the next one. You know, next year or the year after? Do you have a vision?
I think that what I'm saying it now today, maybe tomorrow it will be different. But I think that we'll focus more on like networking and meeting and like providing experience for people than just like making regular, I don't know, 10 shows, you know, kind of this classic form. And also we'll definitely use internet for connecting and gathering ideas. So yeah, yeah, it will be connected a lot. And I see it this way, that the festival is it may be shorter, but the moment of meeting, you know, and talking and exchanging ideas more than just looking at the images, you know. But it's, like I say, it's today, tomorrow it might change.
Yeah, like we also decide, like it's not decided, like of course we don't know what will be next year and what will be in the future, but like right now for our team is important next year, I'd really like to make like just meeting point in Odesa, just to meet, to bring as much possible photographers or audience who is interested in photography, and just like discuss, to spend time together, to brainstorm together, to really like to do something together. As I think it's something what is really missing this year, and we really right now would like to have it next year. But of course it's just our wish for now, and then we'll see what will happen.
Actually, we started the discussion today about the next year festival, so everything is very fluent. And but we were talking about going into the public space, going into the unusual exhibition venues that are not already occupied by the art world, and it might be much more easier available for the audience, even from the street. So this is the one thing. And also in the other discussion, it was the city discussion about the culture and the future, we're talking about using the resources and upcycling the art that were already made. And we're talking about it because of the future economic crisis and how we can focus on our money on fees for the artists and the curators and, you know, essential costs for the cultural work, and using or reusing art that is already produced. So it might be the topic also of the next festival.
Yeah, and we became a biennale up till from 13 till 18. We were every year, and then after 18 we decided to become every other year. So we changed from annual to biannual, and so this brings us, I think, but why we needed is why we needed to kind of have a year in between to be able to work with the program, evaluate and change and progress. And because we are not just a festival, Landskrona Photo has also an exhibition space and archive and residency and other things that we needed to develop as well in that in-between year. That gives us some time as well to look forward and see kind of how can 2022 become. But I'm thinking what we miss, I'm already planning a plan kind of 21 is our in-between year where we do other exhibitions within our space to try and kind of have a symposium where we gather some of the professional audience where we didn't gather this year. I really feel like we need to create some symposium seminar with the professional dialogue around subjects within photography. So do something next year as well.
Yeah, and I think that well, I see it a little bit like almost continuing something that we have started this year, but maybe even more going that the festival is more like a process rather than just showing something that it's final, it's done, but it's more like a platform which also, you create things within the festival. And of course, as I mentioned before, I believe that it's also not so much about showing work, but about different kind of engagements. So I think there is a space for talks, for meeting artists, for talking about, photography. And if the classical way, an exhibition venue, especially in a museum, especially large exhibitions, I think this is something which has been challenged. We can't, I don't think we will plan a big group exhibition with like 10 or 20 artists. I don't think so. So it will be something small, and I guess might be also outside the museums, could be on the street, something that we do now a lot. We are kind of doing this occupy stuff, occupying spaces. Sometimes it will be illegally even as well. So yes, it's kind of like what I said. I think it's the time. This is the time of the smaller things. You can't plan big because you might fail, and then it's a disaster because it's much harder to be flexible when you have a big museum exhibition planned with 20 international artists, maybe some of them quite famous, that you have borrowed their work, and sign some contracts, and then it's some kind of force majeure, and then you are kind of really left in misery. So yes, but I believe what is the main challenge as well is how to substitute those kind of elements which are besides kind of visual experience of seeing some work, of being excited about that, but which is also, of course, how we help that our local scene develop, but at the same time, how do we network? How does it reach wider audience? Because festivals sometimes is the place where a local photographer, let's say, meets a foreign curator, a foreign photographer, and something comes out of that, which turns into some kind of project in the future. So I want to also ask you, because technology kind of influences us a lot. Have you thought if there, it's a kind of like playing with ideas, what kind of technology you would wish to have, that we don't have now, because I think a year ago, nobody knew about Zoom, right? Where we are now. But now we kind of, we can slowly start thinking, when it comes to photography, what kind of platform we are missing, maybe there's something we could have, but we don't have, or it's, it's still, not so easy to use or not so known. Something that could help us, either reach audience or, show photography, or I don't know, do portfolio reviews, or have a kind of impression of being present somewhere. Is there something you miss from technology that you wish to have?
I'm laughing because actually, like last year we had this a conversation about virtual reality because it like popped up, and we're thinking, oh, maybe we should do something about it. We're very skeptical about it. It's not that we think it's great. It's just we're just curious how it's going to affect us. Now it's a problem because with the pandemic, you cannot put glasses on your face because it's not safe for you when you share it with other people, of course. But like it was the kind of funny part, but we're really thinking that with, for example, such technology, you can really reach wide audience because you can create experience and then put it in different parts of the country, or exactly in a small village somewhere, and say, okay, here's the point where you can see something of the Photomonth, and it sounds maybe crazy a little bit, but why not? Maybe that's also kind of good that will be in the future from technology, so that you can use it in a nice way. Yeah.
Any other wishes for technology?
To be honest, like the first things which comes to my mind, it just has to connection to the launching of this Dragon rocket. As I really was impressed of the 14 minutes like to get to the space, and I think it's something really nice, like to get something that like to have to spend like just 14 minutes to get to another festival.
A portal we could just walk into from our office.
Well,
Yeah.
In 50 years, first Photomonth on Mars, maybe, no?
Yeah, like the there's this kind of
Co-produced
technology.
by all of us, or maybe some more festivals, because you can do it alone probably.
Yeah, but when Joanna mentioned the VR technology, which is 100% collapsed, I think this is not the perfect technology, and now we see that we don't use it, especially in a pandemic. So that shows that it didn't work. But that might be the new technology in the future that provide us with much more realistic experience. I mean, visual and also touching sensation. Like the one thing that crossed my mind is Star Trek holodecks. I don't know if you're aware of this technology. It's this kind of a system of the holographic projectors that create the illusion of the reality, but you are in this illusion. So it's kind of entering into the virtual gallery, but it seems to be real. So this kind of technology maybe or might be the key for the future and the uncertain times.
I like it.
But I think that we are not still there.
Or a virus predictor would be maybe simpler, something like you know what kind of restrictions you will have, so you know what to plan and when. Let's see if we have some questions, or maybe you have some questions as well to each other. Okay, I don't think we have any questions at this moment, only opinions. So the online activity happening now is not entirely a substitute for the social, but should be seen as development, a way of doing an aspect of the work that will continue once people are able to see exhibitions and in festivals, says Malcolm Dixon. So yeah, well, I guess so. This is what is happening now, that we are everybody's probably learning new technologies, and also some of it finds quite useful, and that so yes.
But it might be a resource that we gather right now that we can use in the future for our advantage. That's a huge lesson, and also probably there will be some profits for, I don't know, for promotion of our festivals and for spreading the information and for archiving the events of our festivals. I think we just need to learn from it and preserve it for the next editions.
So any other opinions on the consequences of these times? How the photography world will benefit maybe as well? Or we as a festivals?
Yeah, but I think it's what we already said, that it's a really good experience for all of us, for the organizers, but also for the artists, to work in the new conditions and to be able in the quite short time to adapt it to the new conditions. But also this is still, this is open questions, how to connect to audience who is not professional audience, which what we mentioned, but also this way of the young generation who is not using really Zoom, and they're not really using Facebook, and they're just for the searching for the fast and more attractive tools which which like also the question how to implement these tools maybe for the future as TikTok, as we also thought like with our team, what can we do in TikTok for the young generation or for the Instagram for the younger generation. So this is also like just the way of our adaptation, but also it's quite clear, I think, that like all of us just really like need physical touch to the photography and to the festival, like, and really like this physical interactive present.
I agree. Yeah, I think so, because we can invest in digital platforms, but then again we have to invest how to bring people to those digital platforms. If you use something like Facebook, something that we are using now because we didn't have also much time to produce something new. We have a website as well where we put just a list of events, and we will plan to use it as a catalog of kind of documentations. But if it's Facebook, for instance, they have a lot of restrictions. You can't put nudity, for instance, or something else which is kind of things you would put in a gallery, in a museum, or anywhere else, and it would probably, there would be some people who are not happy or something like that. But you would deal with that, or they would have to deal with that, because this is a kind of freedom of the artist and institution to show it. Well, on Facebook you could be banned. You get a strike and your festival is dead. In a day. If you have everything planned on Facebook, it's somehow it collapses, right? So it's kind of risky. So it's also a good question. That there are certain things you can do, because there are some, on Instagram, or is it Facebook? There are some kind of community guidelines that everyone has to follow. And unfortunately, that affects also the freedom of artists.
Yeah.
So yes, I guess this is something also, hopefully, this is what I would wish for. I don't know if it's a Facebook or something, but something that maybe is more general rather than just a website, where people are also there, but some kind of, artistic freedom is allowed, and we can share things and we can access things. And, the same way, parents go with children to the art shows where maybe sometimes there are horrible things, but, they are aware of that. They know what to expect. And, I guess somehow also children need to grow up, and by looking, by learning, this is also how it happens. Yeah, this is also what, this year also we have quite a lot of things on Facebook, and we also used Twitch, also partly because of the Facebook doesn't allow us a lot of things. There's a copyright strikes on any kind of music. They just mute you, or if there is some kind of nudity for more than just a few seconds, you can just be shut down, and then a talk like this wouldn't be streamed, for instance, because then we would need to find another way to show it or just record it. So yeah, this is also, I guess, something to wish for, that there is some kind of space for artistic activity to take place. Either it's Facebook or some kind of new platform that, I don't know, there is some kind of, not Facebook, but I know, artist book or something like that. That it's, I guess, another grand topic. Yes, but is there anything you want to say in conclusion? Because I guess we have been almost like an hour and a half, and we can maybe conclude on something positive.
I think that if not the pandemic, we wouldn't meet today, the 5 of us, or it would be hard or not planned at all. So I'm happy that I knew some of you, but not all. So that's super nice, and that's the positive thing.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I think, sorry, Kateryna. I think I see it as positive now towards September. I try to look forward to the festival and to see like, okay, we are working within this new way, but maybe there are some really good things that could come out of it. I'm quite curious to see what's going to happen with the audience, and will we reach more of a local audience and a regional audience than we have ever done before? And then maybe this is a new audience that we will bring with us in the future. So I'm trying to kind of really be positive towards September, and also with the online program. I mean, it's work in progress. We're going to experiment, but everything is kind of that's allowed today as well, to make mistakes as we go along. And then we will then in November, December be able to evaluate and see, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and did we reach a new audience there as well? So trying to be on a positive note with this working forward. Now we are in the planning stage and quite excited right now. So
I think it will be really nice like to have the similar discussion by the end of this year, and just like to collect different experience and really like to analyze the situation, and then it will be already more or less clear what we are waiting for the next year. But also it will be like nice to see how we develop and what's changed. But also I would like from my side to wish all you guys to have amazing festivals, as it's quite soon, like to have really good audience and like enjoy the new format of your festivals.
Actually, I'm quite positive after this pandemic and after the lockdown and the experience that we have had. I think that's something, and that we can use it for the future. But I'm also waiting for the September, and the same as Jenny. I want to see how the audience reacts, how they will behave, if they will be afraid of touching each other or being in the same space or not. We'll see about that. So we'll wait till September and then till the end of the year and evaluate this, and maybe find after all some new ways of doing festivals.
Okay, I want to say thank you very much for joining today, and I wish you, success with the plans, that they all come true, and that we survive. Yeah, the topic of the festival, how to survive. That we survive, and we, and that it's not just about surviving, but it's about, I guess it's something. What I said at the very beginning, it's a new challenge, and if we are able to overcome, and I believe at this stage we are, all of us, that it's something also interesting, it's a kind of next step, it's something new for us. And I guess all of us are doing this for more than just, it's not the first festival probably we are doing, so it's that brings it to a different stage, just to see, it's not always easy, I guess, but you can get some gray hair maybe, but I guess it's also interesting, and I think that we can all get something positive out of it as well. Okay, I wish you best luck, and let's meet at the end of the year. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for today. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you.